This week's Parsha of Chayei begins with the death of Sarah. The matriarch Sarah passes away, although at the ripe old age of 127, but in a sense it's a tragedy because of the suddenness of her passing. Rashi relates that there's a connection between the end of last week's Parsha of the Akedas Yitzchak, the binding of Yitzchak, and the beginning of this week's Parsha with the news of the death of Sarah when she heard that her husband Abraham had nearly brought her son Yitzchak, Isaac, as a sacrifice, even though it did not end up occurring, but she became so overwhelmed and distressed with the news, she passed away suddenly. And the pasuk begins by saying that Vayu Chayei Sarah, the life of Sarah was Mea Shana, was 100 years, Ve'esrim Shana, and there was 20 years, Ve'sheva Shana, was 7 years, Shnei Chayei Sarah. And then the pasuk, the Torah repeats itself by saying these were the years of Sarah's life. And all the commentaries point out the repetitive nature of the conclusion of the pasuk, the verse, because the pasuk began by saying this is the life of Sarah. Why does it have to conclude by saying Shnei Chayei Sarah? So Rashi famously points out, he says, Kulan Shavin Latova. All the years of Sarah were equal for the good. And that statement just seems to be so disconnected from reality, because when one takes a look and studies the life of Sarah, and by extension the life of Sarah and Abraham, there seemed to be one challenge after another, one stressful event after another, one obstacle after another. From the time that they arrive in the land of Canaan, in the beginning of Parshas Lech Lecha, they're immediately subject to a severe famine, which they cannot even cope and exist in the land of Canaan. So they're forced to go to the land of Egypt. And then Sarah gets kidnapped by the Pharaoh, and there's a whole harrowing story in of itself over there. She subsequently gets kidnapped a second time by Avimelech, the king of Plishtim. She also has this tremendous falling out with her maidservant Hagar and the subsequent birth of Yishmael. And there seems to be one challenge after another, not to mention the fact that she was childless for so many years and longed to have a child for so long until she was blessed with one at an old age. So when one takes just a cursory look at the life of Sarah, one cannot come away with the conclusion that her life was all good. Yeah, there were certain probably good moments in her life, but her life was filled with challenges, filled with sadness. So why does Rashi say Kulan Shavim Latova? And I think this really teaches us a great lesson in life in terms of how to have the proper perspective. You know, it says in Tehillim, famously we say in the Hallel, David HaMelech, King David wrote, Zeh hayom asa Hashem nagila v'nismacha bo. This day Hashem made, let us be happy and rejoice in it. Now, what happens if we're not having our best day? What happens if we're going through a challenging period? What happens if we're going through a stressful or even a sad time? How can we say, this day Hashem made, let us be happy and rejoice with it? Maybe we can say, we'll just wait for the next day, we'll wait for tomorrow, we'll wait for next week, we'll wait for next month, next year, when things are supposed to start getting better. But the answer, King David, Rabbi HaMelech taught us, is Zeh hayom asa Hashem nagila v'nismacha. Every single day we have the opportunity to utilize it and leverage it for the best, in the best way that we can, even despite the fact that we sometimes get challenging circumstances put in our way. But Hashem gave us the opportunity to be able to maximize every single day if we choose to do so. And that is something that Sarah excelled in. Of course, she had difficulties. Of course, she had sadness. Of course, she even had some tragedies in life. But her life was kulan shavin latova. All of the days of her life were good, not to suggest to whitewash any of the difficulties that she had, but she was able to find joy in every day. She was able to find connection to Hashem in every day. She was able to find fulfillment and purpose in every day. And that's such an important lesson for us, especially as we are living in difficult times, in challenging times, and sometimes draining times. It's important for us to realize that within every single day is the opportunity to make it a very blessed and good day. Wishing you all a meaningful and joyous Shabbos.